basic principles of object-oriented programming. So we tackle how why we use why we are going to use object-oriented compared to procedural programming. So at the mid part, we already know that this kind of paradigm talks about object. So objects in real world has attributes or characteristics, and we have behavior. So we will going to use that in our way of coding so that we can reduce duplication and we can give more security. So right now, our topic for this meeting is how we are going to create a class, because we cannot create an object if we don't have a class. So we know that class is a blueprint of our object. So you think that class is an abstract data type. So when you say abstract, you can fill out much complicated data type compared to the other data types like integer, long, float, strings. Those are just primitive data types. But in abstract data type like a class, you can define what is a class, what kind of data that you are going to need or to use. Okay, so a good example of creating an object is a human, right? So human, we can store human in the computer by storing their information, by storing there are also other information. So before we go to an actual code, we have here a UML class diagram to show you specific outcome of or a class, because we cannot really go to a code without proper planning of what is our class look like. So this is a UML, so Unified Modeling Language. It is a language that more on diagramming, so that if you, a programmer, knows what to do in coding. So we don't need to go to directly codes like what you did in your programming one, where you first draw your flowchart before creating your first program. So in here, I have here a Microsoft Visual. So this is a very simple one. So you can use also Word document. So for me to show it you easily, I will be using Visual. So anyone, any problem viewing my screen, can you give me a feedback? Can you see me? You can see my screen? Okay, thank you. Thank you. So I'll be using UML activity. Okay, we have class diagram. I use this tool a lot. Okay, because it's easy to use and we can drag and drop. Okay, so we are going to create a class. Right, so as you can see in the screen, okay, we have a class. So in a graphical interface, or we can see it that a class is just a box with 3 compartments. First compartment is the name of the class. The second compartment is the attributes of the class, and the bottom part is the methods of the class. Okay, so we have a class name and we have members of the class, because a class has 2 parts: the attribute or the characteristics, and we have the second part is the method or function. So always think that a class will look like this. A class has a name, and we have members of the class. We have the first member is the attributes or characters, and the second member is the function or method. Okay, so For example, we will going to create a class human. Okay, so that is named our class human. So we have attributes like last name, first name, middle name, and we have date of birth. Okay, date of sorry, date month. Okay, yeah, we will just separate it. Date, year, birth date, year, birthday. Sorry for that. And we have and then birthday, and then we have address, date of address, barangay, I think, address town. Napakasibo ko, sige lang. Sige ko kaya ramam siya. Okay, town. Ay, sorry. Hi, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am.
Uy, kung yung giayo kahapon ba?
Oh, ma'am.
Nawala ako ang internet.
Dito? No, okay man ta to.
Nakatuilan, okay pa to siya. Ayos sa yung hapon, yung kunin lang yung hapon, yung talon ko. Wala ko, hindi siya makukuhaan.
Wala na po connection.
Sila na, sila ako sa'yo wala.
Asa man?
Ako
Imuha.
na ay wire, non-wire, ganin, sa padung sa kanasa.
Ana ka, sa imo pang PC. Wa man hugi ayo to imuha mong god. Iyaram kang ako to. Dili, ako tong IP-han, ma'am. Sorry kayo, ma'am. Ningon mo Sir Pedro na ayaw ra ko dili ra ko wala ko ilabot imuha ra.
Wala labot sa pagka-IP.
Wala na nabutag IP mo ha. Kang katorong sa computer ko nabutag IP.
Yan. Saan ko siya? Ako ipatandog ni January. Makakaya ko siya power.
Pwede sad. Pwede po ako randalik iton anyang hapon. Okay, karon kinalang gid ko connection ron.
Pwede nang sa.
Ang klase sa ako. Anya ako dalik iton. Go webinar pud ni multitasking klase webinar.
Lulungan na biya ka lang.
Sige ma'am, maturo ko sa campus ko. Okay. Hello guys, are you still there? Okay, sorry kayo. Okay, we will just continue now. So, again, class has 3 compartments. The first compartment is the name of the class. The second compartments are the attributes. Okay, and the second or the third compartment is all the functions and behavior. So I am listing we call it most possible attributes for a human. So human, because we can describe a human by last name, first name, middle name, birth date of a month, birth date year, and birth date day. We want all data should be we call it simple. We're going back to your database, that all the data that you're going to enter on the database should be simple. Okay, so meaning simple. For example, if we talk about name is we call it a composite data because name is consists of last name, first name, and middle name. In order to minimize that problem, because sometimes when you enter a value on that particular data, what happens, you cannot control the formatting of some individuals that will input on that. For example, you let the user input a name, so you don't know what the format that you're going to use, if they were going to follow the first name and followed by middle name and the last name. In order to control that problem, we want that all data should be input on our system or our program should be simple, meaning last name there is no other value rather than last name. So last name is be a simple, first name should be a simple, middle name is a simple. Birth date is a composite data because it's composed of month, year, and day. So we want it to we call it separate the three simple data. Okay, address is also a composite data because it composed a barangay, town, or city, and then we have also province. Okay, we have also we can also put there the height and the weight. Okay, so in all, in our human class, we have these attributes: last name, first name, middle name, birth month, birth date, year, birth date, day. Okay, barangay, town, city, province, height, and weight. Those are the attributes that describes a human. Okay, so in programming or in real world application of computer, we know that human can eat, walk, talk, alright? So, but in here, we don't want to let this human walk, talk, and eat. Okay, this is just as an example. If you don't go to artificial intelligence, maybe you are going to create robots. Maybe that functions you can use. Okay, right now, these are the functions or the behavior of this human. This human class can also, for example, can output the name of the human. So the function of the class should output the name of the human. You can also output the age of the human, can output the birth date of the human. Okay, then we can also output address of the human. So these are the behaviors. So meaning what this class can do. Okay, so it's not the same with the actual human. That human can eat, walk, talk, and whatsoever. So in OOP, we can create functions like this to have a behavior of the human. So we have functions that output the name, functions that output the age, functions that output the birth date, functions that output the address. Those are the functions or the behavior of this class. Remember that a class should have two parts: the attributes that describes the class, which is the class human, and also the behavior, what this human class can do. So any questions so far? Okay, this is what we call a UML class diagram. This is a diagram telling us that this is a class. These are the specifications of our class. So any question? Okay, so are we now excited that this diagram can we convert it into an actual code? Are you excited? Okay, so right now we are going to use a Java language for our class. So you have your phone, right? You can use whatever application that supports the language for Java. So if you have laptop, it's good. If you don't have phone or laptop that used right now, so please just find it anyway. You can find any of your relatives just for your practice. I know if you don't have those, Jude, all my classes are recorded and it will be uploaded to YouTube. So the time that you have now phones or laptop, you can revisit it and then you can follow my previous classes for you to really hands-on, because I believe in programming you don't learn if you don't hands-on. So you hands-on always so that you get out of it. Okay, so this is our plan. This is our class that makes, okay, so this is the class. We have now the class name, we have now the attributes, and we have now the methods. Okay, so I'll be using Eclipse for our editor. You can use NetBeans also in your laptop. Okay, so can you see it clearly on your screen, or I will be doing like this, like that? I will maximize. Is it okay with you, or I will just use my normal screen? Atong kanilang kay if I will not use it, okay, hindi mo klaro, sige. So how we were going to properly create a class in IDE. Okay, you can go to File, click File, and click New. Okay, there are many ways. You can just hit on the keyboard Alt Shift N, okay, or just click here in Java project. Now look at this icon. Okay, Java project. You can also directly create that Java project in here. Nandito sa kilid, di lang makita. But you can create a new project directly. Okay, so in here, we have the project name. You can name whatever project you have. For example, first program. Sorry. Okay. Okay, sorry for that. I'll be minimizing this. First program. What happened? Okay. New Java project. So can you see it right now? I cannot type. It will go direct. It's automatically going to the other. What happened? Okay, I'll just name it to first. Okay, sorry for that. OOP program. Okay, this is the name. First OOP program. Okay, if you're using an IDE, you can use full default location. Okay, you can go to browse and put it in your flash drive. In my case, I have my own laptop, so I'll be saving it onto my workspace, Java project, first OP program. So that is my default location for all my projects. So if in your case that you are just have a flash drive and you are just borrowing it on your relative, you just click uncheck this one, use the default location, and click browse, and then it will browse and you put it on your flash drive too. Okay, so that's the time that all the time that you're going to work, just automatically save it on that flash drive. And we will going to teach you also how you're going to open it later. Okay, so that is your first program, the name of the project. I will use my default location at the bottom part. Okay, I'll just click finish. Okay, so if this screen appears, just don't create. Okay, so as you can see here in the left side, this is what we call here our project directory. You can hear the first program. Inside of this one, we have one folder. This is src, the source file. So all we need to do is just right click and new class. Okay, so this is your new class. So in your class, remember that there is a name. Okay, so we will name it. So what is our name for our class? Based on our diagram, we created our name of our class is human. Okay, yes, that's good. Correct, human. Okay, in creating a class, the naming convention or the rule of making the name of the class, it should be one word, only one word, and only first letter of the word should be capitalized. Okay, that is why I put it human with capital H. I don't put here human like that with small letter H. That is big letter H. If in case you are using two words, you are creating a class that has two words like human, for example, human class, like that one. That is not allowed. As you can see, the name of at the top, there is an error message. Type name is not valid. Okay, so it's valid. So all we need to do is just remove it. Okay, the space, because the rule is one word. Okay, so to make it much more nicer to look at, you have to use camel casing like that. We have like that one. We have separator. We have a lot of things or convention to use, the naming convention. So make sure that it should be one word. Okay, once we have now the class, just click finish. Okay, you now have a source file and you have the human class. Okay, so I'll be closing the magnifier. So right now you can see it, the class, the source code right now in here. Is it clear, or do I need to make it much more bigger, like that one? Okay na siya. Okay. As you can see here, we have public class human. So this is now the class human, right? So inside of this left brace are left and right brace are we call it the members of the class. So whatever is inside of this left brace are the members. Always remember that there are only two members of the class. Okay, we have the attribute and methods. Okay, so always remember, so inside of these left brace and right brace are the members. So we have attributes and methods. Based on here, we have already the attributes and we have also the members, the methods of the class. So all we need to do is to translate this diagram into codes. Okay, so in here we can type directly the attributes. Okay, like what is the first one is the first name. So it is like last name. So it's just declaring an data type for your previous sem, like for example string L name. Okay, so last name. So this is because this attribute is what we call a variable, like a variable. Okay, so we create a variable with a string data type L name, because you can recognize it already what kind of data type is inside of this one. Okay, we have also string F name, string M name, right? And we have int birth year, right? Int birth month, int birthday. Okay, why int? Because we are storing it by number. Okay, birth year 2019 for example, birth month 0605, and birthday we have also a number, right? So what are the other things, attributes that we are needed? We have also barangay. Okay, so we have string barangay, string city or town, string province. Okay, so what else? We have the double weight and double height. So those are we call attributes. Okay. Okay. So that's it. So we already created the first member of our class. So those attributes holds data that describes this human. Next thing we are going to create is the methods. So what are those methods? We have output name, output age, birth date, and address. So we are going to output everything. Okay. So to create a method, we just state public, okay, and then void, then output name. Okay, so why void? You already know what is the void data type. We already discussed it during our first semester. Void is a data type that there is no return value. So we don't need a return in this method because we are just outputting all the information. So that is why the best data type that we are going to use is void, because our task is to output only data, not returning it. So meaning just output it. Okay. So how can we output in Java? Because in C++ we use cout, right? That is the syntax of outputting data in C++. In outputting in Java, we use directly system. You put out that print line. So use type system that out the print line. This is the syntax where you output data. Okay. So you enclose with the quotation because that is a string, and then human name is. Okay. So what is the name of the human? Okay. So we concatenate, we add plus sign. Okay. We add plus sign, it is because we add data. Okay. Now we got here is a member, we can access it in our form by just putting elname. So you can see it highlights. You are outputting the last name. Okay. To save space, because we don't have the small screen right here, I will just enter. That is just the same. Okay, and then plus concatenate, meaning adding two strings, and put here comma, because the format is last name, comma, first name, and then middle name. So that's it. Then concatenate again, and we have F name. Concatenate with space, and we have also M name. Okay. So based on the diagram here that outputs the name of the human, this is now the codes of the output name. So you just system out that print line, human name is, then this is a one string, you add another string here. You remember that L name is a string, so you use plus sign for concatenation. Plus sign again to add another string, which is having a string with comma and space. Concatenation again with this one, with F name string, and with this blank string, and then we have M name. So that is the code for output name. So we have now attributes here, and we have here methods. Any questions so far? Any question, guys? Okay, so shall we proceed to another method, which is to create output age. So to output the age of the human, we need to think that all the variables that we have is only the birth year, right? So you think, how can we come up with the age? So to come up with the age, you have to get the year. Okay, what is the year? Okay, so to get the year, minus the date of the birth year of that particular woman. So you have, since we are just familiar with in Java, so ato ra siyang, we will just use the simple algorithm. So we will just use public void again, output age. Okay, so that is the format in creating method, no? Public void, the name of the method, output age, then do not forget to put open close parentheses. Soon, if that is will be complex, we have add parameters in there. So right now, we will just leave it as just a simple for us to already identify and learn how to create a class. Okay, so first is you declare here, we call it local variable. So we have a variable in here inside of the method. We will use it in current year. Okay, sorry for that. So we set the date for 2021. Okay, this in current year is local for this method. That means if you will going to access the current year in this method output name, you cannot use it. It is because it belongs to this current year only belongs to output age. So this is what we call local variable. Okay, local variable. Kani siya dire, we call it global variables. We are just in procedural programming, we call it global variables because you can access it through other forms, through other methods. Okay, but in local variable, only the method, only the variable that inside of that method can be accessed. Okay, so it's very easy to create an age. Int age is equal to current year, this one, current year, subtracted by date of the year. So you can now get the age of that one. So you can have a system that output that print line human age is concatenate age. So that's how we output the age. Any question? Okay. Okay. So ang atong gibuhat we are trying to create a class right now. So when we create object, that is the time we fill out the data. So creating a class is just creating a class, just creating a specification, creating just a plan. So your question is when can we put data on that name, last name, first name, middle name? Because naanad mo before that you are just directly putting it in there. So you can create now data when we are now creating object. Right now we are still creating class now. So after this, we will create object. That is the time that we are going to insert data. So in the data insertion or the data that we are going to put on the class, we can go it onto the creating object. Okay? Okay, so can we proceed now? The next is output the birth date. So it's very easy. Okay. So we have public void output birth year. Output birth year. Okay. So we have to, since we have to input numbers, right? So for example, month. So we will create here a string month. Okay. If whatever the month, itong na-address sa birth month, okay, whatever the data for the birth month is equal to 1, okay, month is equal to January. Okay. Else if the birth month is equal to 2, that's equivalent to February, because we don't want to output date with only the what we input. So it until into December, right? March. So I will just run into then we have 4 is April. We have 5 is May. Else 6 is June, and we have 7 is July, and we have 8 is August, and 9 is September. We have 10 is October, and we have 11 November, and last month is December. Then we have else, okay, month invalid. Okay, it's basic if-else statements. I already know how to use that one. So that is why OOP needs the basic understanding of programming construct, because we are going to use it in our classes. So we cannot proceed if you don't have the idea like this, right? So we have string month, so we have month, whatever the month is. So it's just output directly. System that out the print line. The human birth date, the birth date of this human, the birth date of this human is, okay, we have month plus, okay, I will just enter for you to see it clearly, still the same, and then space, we put space to make it much more nicer to see, and then we have whatever in here, the birthday, the B day and B year. Okay. B day, okay, we forgot to put plus sign, plus, we have to comma, and then last is the year, B year. That's it. So we output the birth date of this human. Okay, we output the month by using this one. Instead of outputting the number, we put it the name of the month, and then the day, and then the birth year. So any question in here? Okay, none. So any questions? Very good. Kaya wala mga questions sila. Mga bright yung mga students. Okay. Then we are now on the last method, which is output. So we have public void output address. Okay. So system that out that print line. Excuse me, sir. Nalagyan ay kuwan lagi serius.
Nalagay.
Pro, nalagyan ay.
Dahil ako ulit ako mas kundi na.
Nakarapul ito, ano, di ba? Sorry for that. Naman gumigatan ng webinar dere po. While having a class, we are also attending the webinar.
1,000 sir, 1,000 Gcash. Hindi na ba yung 3,000 niya?
Matintal may 3,000 na Gcash ano sa webinar. Okay, so we have print line. Sorry for that. Then we have to output the address. So what are the address? We have the province. Sorry. The city, the barangay, city, province. Barangay, city, province. So the address, okay. First is barangay. Then don't forget to put here space barangay, then may comma diba after barangay, and then space. Next is city or town. You should use city or town. Okay, plus, okay, concatenation, and then the province. So that is for the output. Wala na kadawag sa mga charis.
Kadawag sa mga charis.
Sila yung nagdakan. 1,000? Tungaw na to na. Sorry kayo guys. Na-shock. Ako wala pa mong ngalan di. Uy, sorry for... Kabalas ya? Awa mo ito naglantaw. Okay. Okay, so... Okay, we already have that one. We forget to create something like, because we have data like height and weight, we can add like output BMI. I think there is a formula for creating a BMI. So what is the BMI? So I will try to research what is the BMI calculator. Also formula. Sorry for that. So you can formula should be kg and then meters. Okay, so going back here, we can create public void output BMI. So just create a double BMI is equal to, just divide the weight times by the height. I think that is the proper square. Okay, so that's how you're going to calculate the BMI. Just correct me if I'm wrong, but I searched it on the internet. So now we just output system that print line. the BMI. Sorry for that. The BMI of this human. So you can see we don't have a quotation. That is why we have an error. So we have human is okay. BMI. So that's it. So based on our diagram that we created a while ago, we have now this classification of our class. So we have here the attributes, we have here all the methods. So meaning, sa inyong una-una di aron, the more that you have more methods and the more attributes that we have that the class has, the more codes that you are going to formulate. Yes, it depends how the requirements of particular methods that really will going. It depends on the specific functions of it. That is why basic programming is necessary in order for prerequisite in learning OOP. So any question? Any questions? Are you excited now to create an object? So you have already that. So that is our class. Okay, so this is now our class. Okay. Now we will going to create our object. Okay. In any programming languages like C++ or Java, we only have one main function or one main method. As you can see here, we have a lot of methods. We have method, output name, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 6 methods. But in certain programming languages, you have only one method, the main method. Diba sa inyong C++ before, we can say that we have void main, diba, int main. So we have the name main function, that is the main function. So in here, we don't have yet created the main function for this project. As you can see that our project named First OOP Program, that is the main project. So you can include much more class inside of that one. It depends how you're going to specify your project. But going back, and I will be magnifying it again. So as you can see, our first program project can consist of many classes. It depends on the project. So we don't yet create a main function for this. So right now we will going to create the main function of this so that this program will work, and we will use this class human. So what we need to do is right click again, go to the SRC and create again new, and go to another class. And this class is the main. Okay. Or this is the main class. So you can name it whatever you want. We can name it to my main class, or the main class. You can name it whatever you want. This is the main class. Okay? So this is the main class. That click finished. Okay. So you can see here, you have now two classes. The human class that we are created a while ago, and this is the main class that really runs the program. Okay, so I'll let me minimize it for us to see it clearly. Type for my behalf. I cannot control my screen. Close window. So we have already, this class is the main class. So what? Busagdagan pa kang class diya. This is the main class that the compiler will look into. Okay, then we will going to create the main function. So this is the main function of Java: public, static, void, main. Diba? Then we have string, argument. Okay, so sorry. And you can put it wala. Pero that's it. Have you remembered that one? In your naka-remember po mo? Kasi C++ wala man tayo in Java. Last time I tried you to use Java and practice. Diba? So remember this argument. So this is the main method of this entire project. We have public static void main string argument. So meaning when we output something like system out, the print line, output something like hello world, then right click here and run the program. This you can run file. Where is it, the run file? Okay, run. You can see hello world, right? So the hello world, but asa ang human, sir? Where's the human? Yes. The compiler only detects this main class. Okay. In order to use this human class, we need to call it. Atong tawagon siya. Okay. In order that this human class will be used. Okay. So first thing that we are going to do is to create object of this class. Okay. Since the two classes are just beside each other, so no need to worry about. So we just directly call the name of the class, which is human. Okay. So tawag na name, okay, human. Okay. Then we will going to use what is the name of your object. Example, my object 1. So human and your name of your object. My object, okay, is equal to new, okay, new human class. Okay, this is where we initially create an object of the class human. Okay, in here you are telling it that you are accessing the human class. By accessing the human class, you are creating now your object, the name of your object. And I name it my object 1. Is equal to new, excuse me for a while. Okay. Then we are giving the name of the object because we can create as much as object as we want. So we have the name of the object, and then now this is now creating this new keyword here are telling the compiler that I will be creating a new instance of a class human. When you see class instance, meaning object. Okay, so in this one we have two process in one line, but some they will just use like this, 2 line, human, y capital H, because in this class you have defined it that it is capital H, that dili siya human like ana lang. Okay, it should be human. Okay, then you can create my object 2. Then you can also put here my object 2 is equal to new human. In this case, we have 2 objects in a class human. The first object is my object 1 and my second object is my object 2. So we have now 2 instances of a class human. When you say instance, object. Get it? Okay, so any questions? Sige na may question. Okay, now this is the thing that you asked me a while ago, the passing of data through the or setting the data through the class. Okay, so now when we access my object 1 dot. Okay, let me magnify. When I type here, sorry for that. Okay, when I type here dot, as you can see here, all the attributes that we created in our class can be seen in here. Barangay, birthdate, birth month, year, city, F name, height, L name, M name, province. Wait, you can see that the data type here is the same that we have created. You can see na dash human because it can see, because the human class in here is connected. Naka-access because my object 1 here is now an instance of a class human, meaning all the specification of the human class can be accessed in here. And that is why when we put here dot, so let me minimize na lang. So when I put in here dot, L name is equal to, okay, for example, let me put here my name. Okay, so then my object 1 that M name is equal to John. My object, okay, sorry for that, small letter O. Okay, my object 1 that M name is equal to Doris. Okay, my object 1 that, what other birth day, okay, example 16. My object 1 that birth year equal to 1992. Okay, there is problem, right? My object, object, okay. So my object 1 that month. Okay. Okay, then we have another one. My Bima. Sorry for that. Bima. What's the other thing? Barangay, height, weight. Okay. Height. My object 1 that height is equal to, for example, that is meter, right? So hanggang pila mo meter 1.58 something because meter lang. My object 1 that weight kilo man, so for example 86. So my object nagkabailo nito object 1. Then we have my object 1 that barangay. Okay. Leave it. Okay. Matuog. And my object 1 city or town is equal to Yasan. And my object 1 that province is equal to Negros Oriental. So what are these attributes para na nato na wala nato lang utangan? Birth, natay may, natay barangay, wait, okay, that's great. So we only have that one. So we have now the data. Okay? So when we try to run it again, we run it our file. Walay mo gawas. Right click, run. run as you cannot see it running. This is because wala pa siya output. Okay, run. Wala siya output. Diba ma-output mo na siya, sir? If in case we already have a specification, access this a certain specification of that class. In this one, we're just accessing the attributes. Okay? But in order to output something, we need to access the methods. Mayroon kang my object 1 dot output name. So in that case, that is the time that there is an output. Okay? Human name is Aleo John Torres. As you can see, we don't have already, we just apply the data and our class just define it or process it. So we call it the output name in here. Now guys, if you have questions, object 1 and object 2 is not the same. They have an object, they have instances of the class, but the data of object 1 and object 2 is not the same. That is what we call that is the idea of abstraction. Datas in here are not included in data in here. So if in my case that you access object 2 that my object 2 that output name, it's big letter over object 2, sorry for that. So what happened when we run it, run as you can see here, this is the output for object 1, Aleo Jan Torres. But in here, we have here null, null, null. It is because we don't have assigned data for the object 2. But both of the object is using the class. Is how amazing that you will not rewrite the codes, you will just use an object to make the codes work on your side. Any question based in here? Any question, guys? Wala question? I'm expecting naman questions and that, but I guess that is null because we did not set data for object 2. If we do not set data like in our object 1, it will be null. Why? Because in our classification of our class, in here, in our class, we need to, when the output name, it should be output the last name, first name, and middle name, right? Whatever the data on the first name, on the last name, first name, and middle name should be outputted. Now what happened in our object here, we have an object, we define an object, we created an object, then after that we access the method output name. Now for outputting it, as we can have is we don't set the attributes for last name, middle name, and last name. That is why we output null, meaning no value. That is why null. Okay, any questions? So naklaro na ninyo that whatever data on object 1, it is not the same for object 2. And, di ba? So, two objects in one class. You can create 3 objects in one class. And those datas are not just not interchangeably. Whatever the data for object 1 is that for object 1. Whatever for data for object 2, that is object 2. So that is why when we create here in here, when we put here my object 2 that L name is equal to rows, for example, and rows na lang. Then we have my object 2 that F name is equal to is. Okay, then we have my object 2 that M name is equal to turtle. Okay, so that's the data needed for output name. That is why when I run it, okay, I have here last name for object 1, last name for object 2, first name for object 1, first name for object 2, middle name, middle name for object 1, middle name for object 2. So the two object is not interchangeably, whatever the data you set for that object, it belongs to that object. That is the principles also of abstraction. One core principles of object orientation. So any questions? You can just, what if you will just call like sa BMI, you just type object 1.bmi output BMI in outputs jud. Okay. Pwede mo i-output tong sa age, my object 1 that output age, that age, my object wrong, sorry, like that one. So when you output run, okay, so you can see the BMI is something blah 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 blah, so siguro name, and the human age is 29. Okay, 29. So that's accurate. Okay, pero we have to classify since we will change that one. It is because we will be specific. 29 na siya, but the August man to siya. So di pa ta siya 29 pa ta siya on yung August ta. Pero automatic mo gonna be subtracted the current year to the birth year. So that is why when you subtract 2021 to subtracted by 1992, that is automatically 29. But in reality, wala pa siya na 29. It is because only from August still 28 pa siya. So we need to add some of the logic on our methods to make it much more realistic. Okay, but that's how we can create class. First, we create a class to make it the blueprint of our program. Then we create objects by accessing the class. We use this line of codes to access and create a new object of the class. We use these codes to access the attributes of the class. We also use these codes to access the methods of the class. We create another object by this way of creating an object by separating. You create the name of the object. Next is by assigning it as a new instance of the object. Still the same. Whatever your type of way or coding, it depends on you. It's still okay. So I think that is all time. I will be giving you assessment. Tomorrow I will give you assistant for all the lessons from for the previous last week meeting, and then for today, and I will be giving you also assignments and work to do in this activity, this class and object lesson. So any question?
Yes. So that means to say regardless of whatever integer number that we're going to add to each other.
So if I don't have any questions, please, what? We will say each other goodbye, but first I will stop presenting. I will be giving you the source code right after. All we need to do is to take selfies na lang yun for kuan ato ang amo ang documentation. Okay. Can anyone please turn on your video? Turn on your video for our sige na, turn on for us to take lunch. Guys, are you there? Or wala na naminaw? Okay, thank you. Okay, when I say smile, take smile. Huh? Okay, cheese. Okay. Okay ra. Okay, sige. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, smile. Smile tayo sila. Okay, thank you for coming. I will be uploading our session for today. Hope you have learned something for me this meeting. So, thank you. God bless everyone. Bye-bye. Keep safe.
So, this element